Good evening, I'm Stulie Chen, and welcome to the Big Brother Recap. So, I'll start with the first alliance that was formed. It was before the first HOH competition, and it was called Us 3 and G, with G being the G-Man, and the 3 being Quinn, Jackson, and Kai. This alliance managed to seize power in the first week when Quinn won head of household. Quinn decided that he wanted to nominate Jordan because, to be honest, Quinn is just scared of him, as he should be. Jordan's a really strong player, and Quinn knows that. Even though Kai is pretty well set for this week, he is looking further into the game and wanted to play both sides, and he's in an alliance with Lewis and Jordan. I don't know how tight of an alliance that is, but we'll see. He has connections on both sides of the house, and I think he's playing pretty well. And on the other side of the house, there is Jordan, Calvin, Scott, and Lewis, and they have a pretty loose alliance. It's not like the Us 3 and G where they're committed to each other. It's more of like a mutual understanding, and they're hoping that they can work together in the future. The Power of Veto competition was a general knowledge quiz tournament style, where if you won, you get to pick the next two people to play. And against the odds, Jordan managed to outsmart the rest and take the challenge. And since he was a target, he really needed it, and he did a great job, came through clutch, saved himself. Now, Calvin Collimer Randall Olsen has been a huge surprise to me, at least. He's been playing really well so far. He has multiple final twos, and he's pretty well aligned with his side of the house. Calvin did a great job of convincing Quinn not to nominate him or Lewis, and he pitched for Xander because it wouldn't get much blood on Quinn's hands. So in the end, Quinn followed through, and at the veto ceremony after Jordan took himself off, Quinn nominated Xander as the replacement nominee because it wouldn't really make waves because he's not aligned with anyone. However, Scott remained on the block as a target for the Us 3 and G alliance because he was seen as a much stronger player than Xander. After Xander was named the replacement nominee, he did literally nothing to try to save himself, and Scott DM'd a few people to make his pitch and to try to stay in the game. And in the first live eviction, it ended up being a 4-2 vote, with Scott being the one to receive 4 and Xander receiving 2 votes. I knew Scott was at least going to get 3, and he got evicted in the tiebreaker, but I was surprised because Lewis actually voted with the Us 3 and G alliance. I don't know if he talked to them. I don't think he did, but he was the 4th vote to evict Scott and sent him packing. In the next HOH competition, it was the Scribble.io challenge, and Kai had a nice comeback victory in that. And he decided that he wanted to target Jordan yet again. It's tough for him, but what can you do? And in a strange turn of events, Xander rage quit Scribble.io because he didn't understand it somehow. And he self-evicted from the game. He's pretty disappointed, honestly. And following Xander's self-eviction, the game continues. And Kai, as the head of household, decided he wanted to backdoor Jordan. And he nominated Lewis and Calvin for eviction. And to continue the great week that Kai is having, it got even better when, on my Instagram story, he was the first one to find the diamond power of veto. Now, with this special power, you can, after the veto ceremony, anonymously remove one of the nominations that are still remaining on the block and force the head of household to name yet another replacement nominee. Kai immediately told his alliance about this, which proves to me that he is definitely sided with Us 3 and G, and the other players in the game are really not playing that hard at this point. And I don't know, it's looking like Us 3 and G's game for the taking. Unfortunately for G-Man, there is a separate alliance called Us 3, where, you guessed it, it's Kai, Jackson, and Quinn. And in this alliance, there's no G, and I think that Kai and Jackson definitely want to see this 3 go to the final 3. However, Quinn has been separately talking to G-Man throughout the game, and I think Quinn is more loyal to G-Man than he is to Jackson and Kai. This week's veto competition was a really fun one. It was the Find Household Items competition, and it ended up being Calvin who won. It was the second nominee in a row to win. However, this time it's looking pretty grim for Jordan because I think he will still remain as the target for the solid Us 3 and G alliance. As expected, Jordan was the replacement nominee, and he ended up being sent home on a unanimous vote. But before Jordan's eviction, there was some interesting kind of butterfly effect gameplay that I'll try to map out for you guys. So it started with a conversation between Kai and Lewis, and it was pretty much Kai just saying like, yeah, Lewis, I got your back, man. Jordan's definitely going to go home this week. He wanted to make an alliance with them two, Calvin and Ben. And that alliance did get formed, and then Kai messaged Ben separately and said, hey, I don't think we should tell our Us 3 and G alliance about this because it could benefit us, like we could play the middle, even though I still want to be loyal to that alliance. And Quinn found out about that because Ben is basically just Quinn's messenger and tells Quinn everything, and they're pretty loyal to each other. And then the next HOH competition, which was a jigsaw puzzle, we finally have a power shift. Lewis won HOH, and even though he thinks that Kai and Ben might be on his side, his real alliance is a final two with Calvin. And unless like some miracle happens with Kai's diamond power veto, I think this is going to be a good week for Lewis and Calvin. As this game continues, Kai is seeming more and more scary for Quinn and Ben. He has connections on both sides. They know he has the diamond power veto, and Quinn and Ben are pretty scared of him flipping on them, and they think that his only loyalty is really to himself, when in reality, I think Kai is actually pretty loyal to Us 3 and G alliance. Kai managed to continue to stay safe at the nomination ceremony when Lewis decided to nominate Jackson and Quinn for eviction, and I believe that Lewis's target is Quinn for this week. The veto comp was based on the internet game Higher or Lower, where you guess the average search results. And at the veto competition, Lewis clutched it out again, winning his second competition of the week, securing all of the power in his hands, and I just burped. And now the Us 3 and G alliance is done for, because Lewis, with all this power, can definitely take out one from that side. But then, G-Man made a huge move. G-Man blew up Kai's game. He blew up the time and power veto. He blew up Us 3 and G. He told Lewis about it, and he has now a final three with Lewis and Calvin. So G-Man's plan is to let Quinn go this week, his number one ally. He's going to let go because he realizes that Lewis now has the power to get Quinn out, and he's just jumping ship, and he's throwing Kai under the ship too. At the power of veto ceremony, Lewis decided with Ben that they should actually get rid of Kai's diamond power veto and make a huge move. So he took Jackson off of the block and named the replacement nominee as Kai, and he knew that Kai would use a diamond power veto. And since he didn't want Calvin to go up as the replacement, he decided to put up Ben, and Ben was okay with that. Okay, so the next thing that happened was, actually, it was a really great move from Quinn, but I'll just explain it. Quinn messaged Ben and said, so Ben, do you think that you have a good chance at staying in the game and winning? And Ben said, yeah, maybe I do. And Quinn said, well, if you do think you do, then I will throw my game for you, and I'll just make sure that I'm the one who goes home. And it was really looking like Quinn was going to go home anyways. Even Jackson and Kai had said, yeah, I think we should just vote out Quinn because it'll appease Lewis. This is the funny part, okay? So right after that, Ben decided to say, well, I'll come clean then. It was me who was the one who thought of the plan to put up Kai and have him waste his diamond power veto. Now with this information, Quinn and Ben are sitting on the block together. Ben just fed Quinn this information, right? And Quinn just obviously used it against him. He told Kai and Jackson that Ben was just working with Lewis and that he made the plan to get rid of Kai. And then Kai and Jackson decided to flip. And at the eviction vote, by a vote of 2-1, Ben got his own ass out of this game. Gee, man.